What's up, ladies and gents? Before we start off this video, which I know will help a lot of you guys out, especially free-to-play players, because this was done on the free-to-play account, don't forget the content creator program is still going on for season 8. We have 2 active codes that have been given out every single day for new supporters, and we have 2 more active codes on the way, which will give the existing supporters and new supporters a total of 4 codes. So if you guys have not done so, click that support button, support your boy. Remember to like, subscribe. Let's get on with the video. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another solo leveling Arise video. Alright folks, we have ourselves a brand new tier list that we got to update now, especially with SEORIN coming out and taking over the scene. And we're going to see whether she is top tier or not and where she belongs on the actual tier list. Now remember, one big thing about SEORIN and what she is bringing to the table is an incomplete kit. There may be a bug with her missiles. I don't really know if that's true or not. I've kind of been looking into it, kind of testing it out. I'm kind of reading the kit, and maybe there is no bug, maybe there is a bug. But right now we're going to treat her as she is, especially with considering that it says increases the user's missile damage here. I don't know, missile instead of missiles. I don't know if that's the key word there. The fact that it only affects one missile versus multiple missiles with the plural. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe there is a bug, maybe there isn't. But I'm going to treat her as she is now, plus understanding the fact that she's not, kind of an incomplete unit because she isn't really buffing the units that are properly out right now. She's supposed to be built for the brand new Cha, which now Netmarble has confirmed through the actual video release of the tournament, right? The SLC tournament. So if you haven't checked that out, check out my last video. There's actually a picture of Cha. She looks absolutely amazing as a character. Plus we've seen the leaks already of what she looks like in game. She's gonna look bonkers. So Cha is going to be released, and SEORIN is meant to actually buff her and give her what she needs from that perspective. Now, keeping in mind that she's a brand new unit, we've done a lot of testing on her. This is what the tier list is going to look like. So keep in mind, this is an opinionated tier list with enough testing and enough foresight and enough gameplay to understand how these units work. I do my due diligence on that. I collaborate with a lot of other content creators who are also excellent gamers to give you guys the best possible tier list out. So let's go ahead and start this. We're going to go ahead and do what we did with myself and GoHack's tier list in the past. We're going to keep the SR separate from here, and we're going to start off with DCASSS, and then we're going to call it Godly. Okay, the last one will be Godly. So we'll start off with the bottom. All right, so Sa, as usual, will sit in the bottom. Lim as well too will sit in the bottom, and then Dong Su will be the worst character in the game. So Dong Su, unfortunately, is still the worst character in the game, will continue to be the worst character in the game unless they finally decide to do something about this worthless piece of shit, which I don't see they're going to be doing anytime soon. All right, so that's going to pretty much give you guys the worst characters to focus on. Yes, Sa is on there, unfortunately. Even with SEORIN, I'm trying to keep this as independent, right? We don't want this tier list to influence another character, because not every character is going to be able to, or not every player is going to be able to have every character. And I'm keeping in mind free-to-play players, dolphins, and spenders. This is not just for whales. This is for all players in general. These are the units you want to focus on, okay? Next up, we're going to have Akari right over here. Now, the reason why Akari is up here is because if you do get her to A5, she actually does bring quite a bit of utility for the light team. Anything below A5, she's kind of useless. If you go below A5, she's going to be, I would even put her at the end of the C list. But if you have her at A5, she's actually fairly useful for the light team specifically, okay? Emma has kind of lost her luster, but she is still pretty damn good, especially for BOT and BOT challenges. She does bring quite a bit of firepower, no pun intended, for that. SM Beck as well too, sorry, not SM Beck, just regular Beck, is actually fairly useful. I'm going to put him above here. He does have the defense shred, he does do the white flames, and he does actually do fairly decent damage. The problem with him has always been his animations, right? His animations are just absolutely atrocious, so I'm going to put him right there. And then Wu as well too. I'm going to put him I'll put him right behind Emma. He's probably the worst of the windbreakers now that Goto's out especially, but he does have a stun, he does have fast animations, he does have fairly decent buffing with his weapon for wind, but now again that Goto's out, you kind of lose stock in Wu, and Goto takes up obviously most of your breaking capabilities, right? So he's going to be in the C version, probably the worst C unit there. But again, if you have Akari less than A5, I'd even put Wu ahead of her, but for now, we're going to go like this right here, okay? This is how this is going to, actually, you know what? I'll put it like this. I think this makes more sense right there. All right, now, let's go ahead and jump over to the B. This should have been actually B. I don't know why this is A. This is S, S, and then we'll say Godly there, okay? There we go. Now, for the B versions, in the past, we had 3 different units. We had Charlotte right over here, who is your second best, close to first tied with the top end DPS. And then we of course have Alicia here, who does bring some decent support and okay DPS. The biggest problem with Alicia, of course, is not everything can be frozen, so she loses a lot of DPS there. But I'd say she's there. And I'm gonna put Harper right here. I'm gonna put Harper ahead of Charlotte, because Harper is the best Dark Breaker, and she brings that uniqueness to the Dark team, while Charlotte, of course, can be replaced with SM Beck. So we're going to go ahead and put Harper ahead of Charlotte, and then, of course, Alicia last. Unless we see some form of content where Alicia's core damage and her attack kind of does matter, she's probably going to maintain in this little section here. But for now, that's what the B section looks like, okay? Now let's go over to A. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a swap here. So Lee Bora will definitely be in the top end of the A still. That's not going to change. I'm going to put SM Beck right behind her for dark DPS. Of course, there's not much dark content at the moment, but if there was, he would be up there. Choi, I think, also belongs here as well, too. He has had a little bit of a comeback now with a lot of the content that he's involved in, including simulation, plus, of course, guild boss, etc. So he does bring a little bit more to the table. And then, of course, I'm going to put Hansimi over here as well, too, as the second best. Actually, the best win buffer. I would say maybe 4th or 5th best overall buffer. So, unfortunately, she just is so important to the win team, but outside of the win teams, the main thing she really brings is immortality and MP recovery to the rest of the people. But her kit is really focused on win, right, where the other unit's a little bit more universal. So I'm going to put that there. Now, as a free-to-play player, I still use Min as one of my main buffers. So I'm going to put Min back in S. I had him in A because of GoHack and but the more I use Min, the better he becomes and the more universal he is, especially with his A1. He's so cheap to get that A1, and that A1 gives you crit and crit damage to everybody across the board, including SJW. It just makes no sense bringing him below that. But there is one unit that's a bit better than him in terms of buffing, and that's going to be Mei Lin. She does bring attack and defense and crit and core and even so much more, right, to her actual A5 passive. Even at A1, A2, she's fairly useful. I will argue that Min is a bit more free-to-play friendly than her. But her weapon and everything that she brings, including Min's weapon, actually, they're both really good. But I'd say Mei Lin is probably a bit better than her in that regard. Now, especially with the new Cha coming out and her being more defensive, from at least from what we gather, I would imagine that she is probably going to be even more useful, and she might actually go up even more into the ranks depending on how much she brings the proper buffs to Cha and how good Cha is going to be, right? But right now, I'd say 1 and 2 for sure. Speaking of Cha, still one of the best light DPSs in the game, and being the first ever global release unit is a pretty big impact, to be honest, to make that. So I'm going to put SM back here. Sorry, I doubled him there. Yeah, I would say for sure there. Gina, I'd say right behind Min. Amazing fire buffer. Also overall just a good buffer in general, just not quite as good as the two here mentioned. And I would probably even say arguably, actually she arguably might be better than Min when you have her at A4. So we'll do this. I think this is more fair. And then right after this, we're going to probably put in, now this you guys can argue as much as you want, right? Actually, you know what? I'm going to put one more tier up. Let's go one more tier. One above here. We'll go SS. And then we'll put Godly here. I think this is more fair. This will make more sense, I think, if we do it this way. Sorry, guys. Let's just go like this. I think it makes more sense. All right, so I think this is a good way to square out that setup. And I'll put one more unit in here. Actually, we'll put 2 more units in here. We're gonna put Gun He, and then we're gonna put Goto, and then we're gonna put in. Yeah, I think this is good. Now, some of you may argue the next setup here, but I'm going to explain my reasoning, okay? So this is going to be your S units here. The SS units here are going to be Isla for sure as top tier, as one of the top tier. We're going to put Thomas up here as well, and then we're going to put Mireille here, and then we're going to put in SEORIN, okay? So SEORIN is probably going to go right about, I'd say here, maybe even here. So the reason why SEORIN is above Goto's main problem, in my opinion, is the fact that he does the MP reduction, and it actually does screw over the 3rd unit, even though the 3rd unit does get a massive damage increase boost, and he himself actually does great damage. It's arguably that he could actually go there like this. We could, you know what, we'll do it like this. I think this is fair. I think this is a much fair setup here. Even technically Gun He could be up here as well too. I could probably put SS like that, and that would make more sense because Gun He is almost unstoppable as a damage. His damage is not quite as high as these two here, but he does bring in more security and obviously more buffs than the other two. So let's go like this. I think this makes a lot more sense here. And then, of course, the last three, the godly 3 tiers, are still going to be the following 3 here. So you're not going to be able to beat these guys at all in when it comes down to overall usage. Kanae, Essel, Yusuyun, still the best DPS. Two best DPSs in the game. Thomas being a close third. And then, of course, Essel being the best breaker. I don't think anyone's going to beat her for quite some time for what she brings to the table for all teams. All right, guys, there you guys go. I think that's the best way to look at this. This is still probably the best setup here for tier list. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. This is Payne. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Sunday, everybody. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Take care.